The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Miniature War Games with Battle Games magazine, and with the generous donations of you, the listener. A huge thank you to Tom Privitera, John Michael, Peter West, Alex McIntosh, and Glenn Oberhauser. Guys, your generous support helps keep this show possible. Thanks once again. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 157. The Dice Bag Lady, with hosts Neil Shuck and Mike Hobbs, and guest Annie Norman. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. I'm Neil Shuck, and I'm joined once again by the Welsh Wizard himself, Mike Hobbs. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good.
Good stuff.
It's Friday. Work's finished. Yay.
Indeed. And it seems like ages since we've chatted on this show. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks, I suppose, but it seems like absolutely ages.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, because I've had a holiday and stuff since then.
Indeed. You've been to Potts Fallen, haven't you?
I have, aye. Went to Turkey. Lovely thunderstorms. Wonderful flooding.
Yes, however, you didn't see a lot of that, did you?
Luckily, the bar was on the first floor, so we managed to escape most of it. And when we lost electricity, we had to drink wine. It was hell. Hell, I tell you.
Superb. Right, okay, so...
Well, I'm back now.
Oh, yeah, he's back. He's back. So, on today's show, we are primarily going to be chatting to Annie Norman, more of which in a minute. And, well, yeah, we're going to have a quick catch-up on what's been going on, and we're also going to have another chat with Stuart McCorquadale, who was on the last show about Iron Cross, but we're talking to him about something a little bit different. So more of that in a minute. So, before we go any further, I suppose, as I say, you've been away for a few weeks, so I suppose we'll have a quick chat up, so, what you've been up to. I mean, obviously, while you were off, we were running the blog on how you put together that gorgeous dragon figure that you built.
Yeah, I've definitely painted a dragon. It's definitely done. Finally,
and it's
lovely.
yeah, it is. It is, and it's somewhere safe.
Yes, it's in our special display cabinet downstairs for our special china and glass and precious things.
Right.
And if there's any thieves listening, it's just to the left as you walk through the door. Please don't take the dragon, just take the glassware.
A bit more of a display piece than actually kind of a playing model then.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Well, it's not something I'm going to shove into a box and just leave it there. It's a bit big, so
well, quite.
Yeah.
Well, quite. But is it perhaps going to grace grace another world dungeon at some point? You think?
Yes.
Yes,
it is. Probably at a game. I was going to say it's probably going to be at a game at my house because I'm not going to take it anywhere. It's I have to get a child's seat for it or something.
Yeah, as I say, it's going to be a bit big to fit in the 10 by 10 room.
Yeah. As you say, I have warned my mates that we are going to play a game, and I am going to just turn up with this dragon. And that's it. I just put it on the table and say, right, off you go.
Yes, good luck. Yeah, so, if people who don't follow us on Twitter, we were having a discussion about about how you potentially stat it up. Or what your to hit chance was, and we were joking around with the several jokes from Guards came out about 1,000,000 to 1 chances, and so that means everything. That means anything but a 1 on a D10 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand what we're talking about, go read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't understand Discord, you'll definitely listen to the wrong podcast.
No, too late.
Yeah.
Too late. As I say, I mean, it's just an ideal thing to put against your all your City Watch gang.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I've always had an idea of using it in a game, and just basically have it as a centerpiece, blowing up buildings randomly, and then have the players running around the outside trying to do stuff and survive.
Right. Because obviously that means then you've got to have a load of buildings to blow up.
Yeah.
So how's that going then?
Well, after spending about a month doing the dragon, I thought I'd do something small, so I decided to start doing the foreground stoic arms, which is probably just as big as the dragon.
I was going to say, hang on, something small.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, guys, if you're not aware of what the stoic arms is, I'll tell you what, Mike, you explain. Go on.
It's a big inn. It's 4 stories. It's probably about 18 inches by 16 inches, with lots of rooms and a kitchen and a bar, and it's big. It's a bar.
Yeah.
It's a bar cum hotel.
Right. Okay. It's part of the Foreground Fabled Realms range.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're wondering what it is and you haven't seen it, just go to the Foreground website and look at their Fabled Realms fantasy range, or failing that, just Google Stoic Arms, STOIC, Stoic Arms, and have a look at what Mike has started doing.
Yeah, I don't know why. I did one massive project and then suddenly I'm doing another massive project.
I mean, I must admit, when I first saw it, I thought, so is that as big as the Great Hall? And we kind of went, no. And they're going, well, actually.
It's definitely smaller than the Great Hall, but it's a lot more detailed. It's got more rooms.
Yeah, but it looks. I mean, the Great Hall's only got 2 stories. This has got like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at it, kind of going, how's it all come apart? It's just.
Oh, it all comes apart. Yeah. You can lay it down and just play a whole game inside. And what's even. I don't know why I've done this, but I decided to not use the roof sections that are in there, but I'm going to tile them as well. So I've ordered like 8 sets of tiles from Foreground. You're
going to tile the roof?
Yeah. It's a big roof.
Well, it's a big model.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's quite a steep angular roof. So there's quite a bit of roof, Mike.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of roof. Yeah.
Okay, so you decided that the kit was just too easy as it was. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. I'm also thinking of getting some of the furniture to go inside of it. Get some beds and tables and stuff, and chairs and things. Oh
right, so that doesn't come with it as standard then.
No, you get. It's got the bar built in, and the kitchen oven, and the fireplace is all in there.
Yeah.
So it's got a lab, but I think a couple of tables and chairs. So when I do play a game inside there, the figures have got things to throw around.
Yeah, it is the ultimate kind of barroom ball sort of place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's a big play set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was the wife turned around and went, "Why are you making a Wendy house? Oh, Wendy house." Yeah,
doll's house, yeah.
A doll's house, yeah. I'm like, it's not. It's wargaming. It's much more serious than that.
Honest.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about getting some wallpaper.
Mind you, depending on the size of it, I think we'll have to ask Dave Luff to decorate it. I mean, since he's actually trying to be an interior decorator at the moment, Hey Dave, yeah, come and wallpaper this. Oh, yeah. Dearie me.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And okay. So how long have you been on that so far?
About a week-ish, 10 days.
And how far have you got?
I've just finished the first floor. So I've done the ground floor and the first floor.
Right. Okay.
Which is the major part.
Yeah, but especially with the fact that you're now tiling the roof, you're probably about halfway through. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
There's 15 A4 pages of instructions, and I'm on page 8.
Deary me. Deary me. Oh,
I don't do anything easy.
well, you don't, do you? No.
No.
You don't, no. Just trying to think what I've done recently.
You've done all the rivers in the world.
Well, yeah. I did the rivers, and it has to be said. We put a table together a couple of weeks ago. We were tweeting some photos. Dave turned around to me and went, "Yeah, have you seen that photo you've just taken?" Because I just took a photo, put it on Twitter, and then Dave went, "Have you seen it?" I said, "Yeah." Have you really kind of stopped and looked at it? I went, "No." I said, "Have a look at it." I looked at it and I went, "Ooh, that looks like a river." Because it's got all the reflections and all the ripples and everything. And it's completely by accident, but it was like, but it's one of the things you kind of think, actually, it's not too bad. So, it has to be said, I'm really pleased, despite the fact that, but as it's one of those, really, really pleased. Great how they come out. I don't want to do another one. Although I'm now threatened with the fact that I've got to do some, I've still got to do some marshland. So I've got to do some marshes. I've got to do a couple of kind of big bits of open water, lake or whatever, a big pond, lake or and what have you. But at the moment, I'm kind of looking around, going, when do I need to do that? And the answer is not for a long time, because I've got lots of scenarios that only use rivers and no marshland or anything else.
It's probably worth doing it now, though, whilst you can remember the colours and you've got all the stuff there. Otherwise, you'll come to do it and you run out of colours, or it just won't match, and you'll feel sad. Because the whole thing looks great, because the pictures you put in, everything matches in and blends in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. I know you're trying to help, but yeah.
You'll thank me afterwards. The lake's so easy. It's just a big round river.
Yes. Yes. Okay. But actually, what I'm trying. This last week I've just made up some. I've just made up some bunkers. If you might have seen, I bought some resin bunkers, and I think I'll talk about them a bit in my latest miniature war games article, which is out on 391. But anyway, I played around with those last weekend and finished those off, which I'm relatively pleased with how they come out. Although the one we were looking at it last night, and then we put some figures in it. Kind of went, well, it looks like they sent me the wrong one, because basically it looks like it's a 20mm bunker as opposed to a 15mm bunker. But having said that, I don't think they do that particular bunker in 20mm. So obviously it's a case of it's just the way the bunker is, but it's just a bit big. So
some of them were quite big, though, weren't they?
Yeah, but this one, you put a 15mm figure in it. One of your chaps stood up with an MG42 firing over somebody's shoulder, and it doesn't come above the sandbags.
Ah.
And you're kind of thinking, I think that's the wrong scale. So I'm not too sure if I can use that one, which is a bit of a shame. So I might have to get another one, and I might have to. I might have to find somebody who games in 20mm or something. Can't think of anybody who plays World War II in 20mm.
Hello.
I said you need a painted machine gun bunker.
You can never go. You can never have too many machine gun bunkers.
Right.
And maybe a river. Can I have a river as well? Just about 10 foot will do. Round it up to 15.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. Maybe not. So that's primarily what I've been doing, and at the moment the whole point was get those out of the way, because actually I really, really, really want to get down to painting some vehicles and some figures before, and actually especially getting the base coats spray painted before winter. because obviously night's drawing in, and it's starting to get cold and damp, and I want to get them all done before. And get all the spray painting done at least. So at least all the Dunkelgelb spray base coat is done. I want to get that done because it's all spray cans and everything. It's really got to get done outside as opposed to inside. And I haven't. And since I haven't got the luxury of a garage,
I was going to say you've just been come over to mine and paint them.
Well, I could do. It's just long. It's just a long way to go to paint. A long way to go to kind of spray. I was going to say spray a few models, but you know me. Yeah. It's not a few. It's quite a few. it's quite a few. And of course, half of them are resin. So I'm going to go through the whole thing of washing all those down before we go any further with them. Somebody happened to mention that I tried spraying a resin figure without washing it the other day, and something bad happened. I can't think who that was.
Who was that? Was that Dave?
I said, no, it was you.
Was that me?
Yeah. I'm sure it was you.
Oh, God, yeah, it did. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Right, okay. It was me dropping subtle hints. Oh, yeah, well, it must have been somebody or other. Yeah, it was you. Yeah, you kind of went, yeah, don't do that, yeah. Yeah, sprayed it and then had to basically strip it all off and do it again.
Yeah, what figure was that? I can't remember what figure was that.
I don't know.
Oh.
I can't remember. Anyway, but I mean, even as recording this, I've got a weekend. I've got a weekend free because my good lady's away. So all being well, starting it in between going away to Lardy Day and various other bits and pieces, I might just about get a chance to go and do some work, put some figures together, get the scrubbing brush out, wash them all down, and then I'll be ready to go. So that's the plan.
Yeah. So,
danger has it that I might actually be painting some figures and painting some vehicles.
Never going to happen. So, I had a cough then.
Yeah, as I say, stranger things have happened at sea. Yeah. But so we'll see how we go. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. Other than that, I've been playing a few games or what have you, we'll call it. And we might end up talking about that in a bit. But talking about painting.
Oh yes, good segue.
Right, Stuart McCorquadale from Great Escape Games was on the last show. If you remember talking about Iron Cross. However, there's something else that he runs, and that's something that Mike's been involved with in the past. So, Mike, I'll let you introduce it.
Okay, so Stu and Great Escape Games every year now they do the Iron Man painting marathon, which is a fundraiser for various charities, sort of Save the Children, and this year, Stu will explain who it's for. So it's a 24-hour painting marathon, and people can just join in and just chuck in a few pounds and just paint some figures themselves. Or there's a few foolhardy people who tend to spend the entire 24 hours trying to paint something from start to finish, which they can auction off. So, now over to Stu, who will tell us all about it.
Indeed.
Cue the recording.
It's great once again to be talking to Stuart McCorquadale from Great Escape Games. Hi, Stu.
Hello.
Good to have you back on. Now, this time not talking about a new game from Great Escape Games, but something different that you organise, yeah?
Yeah, every year we do a 24-hour paint-a-thon for charity.
Right.
We call it Iron Man, and the idea is that you set aside one day in your busy schedule and just paint your own soldiers for your own evil ends, or like us, maybe paint a few to auction for charity.
Right, okay.
If you're painting soldiers to auction for charity, well then you can send them to us to auction. We've done that a few years in a row now. Or if you're just painting for yourself, we ask you to chuck 10 quid or so in the kitty for the charity and use it as an excuse to spend all day painting.
Oh right, so but when you say Iron Man, you really do mean like a 24-hour paint-a-thon, don't you?
Well, not many people are as invincible as us, and maybe not everybody could handle it. If you can do 24 hours, then you are a true Iron Man or indeed Iron Woman. If you can manage a few hours, squeeze a few hours out of that day to do some painting, well, that's great. Just as long as everybody chucks a bit of money in the kitty, that's fantastic.
Okay, so I should say this is for charity. So, what charity are you supporting?
We're supporting Poppy's Angels, which will soon be a registered charity. But it was set up by a group of wargamers in support of a wargaming friend to support his little girl who was very ill at the time, and she's responded well to treatment. She's getting through it slowly but surely. But they're setting up a charity to support other families with children who are undergoing cancer treatment.
Right. Okay.
So, in discussion with Annie, especially, I thought it was a great cause to support, and really, it's well in tune with the whole wargaming scene as well. So it seemed really appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. So when is this event planned to take place?
It's on Halloween evening, so October the 31st. We're holding it at Firestorm Games, where they're doing loads of other stuff on October the 31st as well, it being Halloween. Mm-hmm. And the idea is either if you're in the area, come along to Firestorm Games, sit down with us and paint some soldiers, or indeed do it from home and just, like I said, chuck 10 quid in the kitty. If you go onto the Facebook page, there's an Iron Man Charity Painting Marathon Facebook page.
Right.
Which I'll send you a link to.
Okay.
It's also linked from the Great Escape Games page as well. Have a look there, look at the details, and join in.
Unfortunately, I can't do this year, mate.
Oh, no.
No. I'm going to be in Peterborough that night. Cause,
oh, yeah, because the following day is...
It's the day before.
It's the day before Hereward.
Yeah, otherwise
Yes.
I would have done it. But I will be sponsoring.
Absolutely, and you'll be encouraging lots of people to join in, I am sure.
Oh, indeedy. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. I did have the idea of having a chat with Wayne from Otherworld and seeing if I could get a small Otherworld faction and paint that up. But,
awesome.
What I might do is maybe do it a few days afterwards, and then
this isn't a fixed in stone thing. If you want to do it the weekend before, or a few days afterwards, or the weekend after, indeed, who cares? It doesn't matter, and everybody's invited to do the same.
And what I'll do, I'll make a few phone calls, see if I can get somebody to give me some figures, and I'll pick them up in one day, tweet it, and then we can auction them off.
Because it didn't quite kill you the last time you did it, did it?
No, it almost did.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on, wasn't was it a Russ army you did?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh, sounds like you do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it raised a ton of money as well.
Yeah, I was really surprised at that. But you did bits last year, didn't you? 15mm bits?
Oh, I think we did 15mm Brits last year, did we? 15mm Germans last year we did.
Yeah.
It was 28mm Brits the year before, so we're going to go back to a bit of 28mm this year.
Oh, nice.
Save my eyes.
Okay, so as I say, so if anybody wants to get in touch with you, follow the links, and similarly, if you want to paint something up for charity auction, then please go ahead, contact Stu, and hopefully we can raise a lot of money towards a very good cause.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stu. Thanks for chatting to us about that. I hope it goes really well.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Mike.
No problems.
Cheers. Okay, so that's your Halloween weekend completely taken care of. You can spend 24 hours on Saturday painting a model, or painting several models, or what have you, and then without any sleep at all, you can go over to Peterborough and go to the Hereward show.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing it on the 31st because I'm travelling up to Peterborough on the 31st. I'm going to stay over on a Saturday night and the Sunday night, and then come home. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do probably a week or so afterwards, which is a bit cheaty, but you know.
Well, as I say, it just happened to be on the same weekend as Hereward, and since we'd all loyally promised Mr. Whittaker that we'd be at Hereward, despite the fact that apparently Mr. Luffers cried off because of something to do with a rugby game or something, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, these people who foolhardily go out and buy season tickets for for rugby teams. I don't know. Really.
Yeah. Oh, just before we do leave the subject of Iron Man, I did mention when we spoke to Stu that I'd try and get Otherworld to get some figures off him to paint.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I've done it.
You have?
I've spoken to them today, and they've been brilliant. So Richard and Wayne, they're actually going to donate two of their factions from the book. So they got some faction packs which match in with the scenarios they got.
Yeah.
So they're gonna give me two of those, plus a set of rules and accessories and all sorts of stuff. So at the end of it, we can literally auction off two painted factions, plus rules, accessories, tokens, and everything else. And I know it can all go to the charity, which is fantastic of them. Really nice.
That is great. Thanks, Thanks, guys. And so what we'll do is look out for. We'll publicise that at the point where. Hang on. So these are are these the models that you're going to paint?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think I'm going to be able to paint two whole Otherworld factions in 24 hours because they're a bit detailed. So what I'll do, I'm going to sit down with Stu and work out whether we try and get somebody else in to paint one of the factions and I do one, or I'll say, right, I'll paint one as part of the 24-hour thing, and then the other faction I'll paint up just afterwards when I've had some sleep and stuff. But basically, we'll auction them all off together. So we'll work out the two factions. So there'll be two factions, rulebook and accessories, all going to go on whichever auction site which Stu uses. And we'll get them auctioned, and we'll get all the money. So everything will just go to the charity. So hopefully that'll raise a bit of money.
Brilliant. Okay, so look out for that. We will publicise that when it happens. Okay, so if you're interested in that at all, say look out for it, and we'll put it on the blog and put it out by Twitter and everything else. Okay. So onwards with the rest of the show, and we are going to be talking with Annie Norman. Now, Mike, why did we invite Annie on the show?
Well, she threatened me and she sulked, really. That was the main reason. This is going to be an interesting one because we're not going to be reviewing a set of rules or anything. Annie basically runs Bad Squiddo Games.
Yeah.
So she's she's manufacturing a range of figures and she's got a shop. So people might turn around and go, well, why have you invited somebody who just for a free advert? But when you listen to the interview, you'll work out that Annie's done a lot more, and she's got some really good ideas of what she wants to do. And for anybody out there who's ever wanted to, just have a go at running their own company, she's a really good model to follow. So I've known her for a couple of years now. And I've just been really impressed with her, get up and go. She's got a lot more about her than I've got. I could never just turn on and go, I'll just give it a go and try and create a company. I'm far too cautious, but she just does it. And it's people like that in the industry who I think we should be supporting and highlighting. So that's why we've invited her on.
Right, okay. So without further ado, we'll take a quick break. And when we go back, we'll be chatting with Annie Norman.
I must get through to Sergeant Watson's position. Jenkins, cover me.
Sir.
Whoa. Sergeant Watson, bring your men in. Withdraw.
It's all right, sir. We're enjoying ourselves.
What?
Yes, sir. It's these here chain of command rules, sir. We're having great fun.
Chain of command?
That's right, sir. It's a challenging but fun blend of command and control. It gives me the freedom I want to fight the way I want to. Never had so much fun, sir. And we've cooked you some sausages. Can't be helped, sir. Me and the lads are staying put. Chain of Command World War II platoon level rules from two fat laddies. They really put you in control. And they're even better than sausages.
We're very pleased to welcome to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast, Annie Norman. Hello, Annie.
Hey.
Hi. Great to finally have you on the show. I know we've been chatting about this for some time, about getting you on and chatting.
Yep.
So it's great to talk to you.
Yay.
So welcome. Now, for those of you who haven't got a clue who Annie Norman is, she's otherwise known as the Dice Bag Lady, and that's where you'll find her on Twitter. Runs Bad Squiddo Games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute.
There was lots of conversations about that.
There definitely were.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the course of the interview, we'll find out all about Bad Squiddo, all about Baggy, and yeah, probably more information about Baggy than you'll ever want to know, really, and loads of other different bits and pieces. So, as I say, we've been trying to get Annie on the show for long time, isn't it? Long time.
Yeah, I'm a bit elusive.
Or maybe you just didn't want to talk to us. That was
Or I don't have internet at home. That's the boring reason.
So no, it's great to finally get a hold of you. And so, right, before we go any further, and anyone who's a regular listener to the show will know this, when we have a guest on, the first thing we ask them is, how on earth did you get into gaming in the first place? So, Annie.
Okay.
As I say, how did you get into this hobby?
I got into the hobby when I was about 10 or 11, kind of by accident. My mum used to do a lot of car boot sales and markets and sort of odd places like that. And she just came back one day with a big pile of white dwarfs and said, "Oh, you and your brothers all like this sort of thing. Here you are." There was 10p or something. And that was pretty much it. So got looking through that. I instantly took a liking to the vampires, which were the undead. And my brother really enjoyed the Space Marines, so we both got into that. And he kind of got a bit bored of it quite quickly, but it sort of anchored a bit more with myself, so that was the beginning of it.
Right.
But I went, because I got all these magazines and I was reading through them and circling things, I was getting quite excited, but I hadn't got any models. So by the time we got to a Games Workshop, I went, right, what have they actually got? I said, right, I want this one. And all of these are long out of production because they were really old models, even more so now. But still ended up with some vampire stuff, sort of stuck then. And then I didn't have the big... I was listening to the last one with Great Escape Games, and you were talking about the gap that everyone has.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a big gap. I only had a couple years gap where I... had a bit of a diversion with guinea pigs. And then I went back again to gaming.
Okay, so most people have a diversion with alcohol on the opposite sex, and you went for guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Why not? But no, that wasn't very long. So I was about 10 when I started it. I think the gap was only from when I was about 14 to 17, I think.
Right.
And then moved to Cardiff, and I kind of got a bit put off Games Workshop because I didn't have that many positive experiences. And Firestorm Games had just opened whilst I just started university, just outside Cardiff.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll try this place out. I've never even heard of a gaming centre. All I knew there was Games Workshop. So I thought, I'll try it out, go down there, and obviously the rest is history. I haven't stopped since then. So that was about 2008, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that just became my local. I moved around after that, quite a few different places, but I'm back in Cardiff now and working inside Firestorm Games.
What sort of games are you playing? Because you started off on fantasy, didn't you?
Yeah, I started off Warhammer Fantasy, and that was it for years. And when I returned, when I came back to Firestorm, I got into the tournament scene, which was something else that I hadn't been aware of before.
Right.
Thinking that you could only go to Warhammer World and the official, I didn't realise there was a whole independent scene. So I got really into the tournaments, and I think I worked out I did about 55 in a few years. So I did a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think once I went to a couple of trade shows before I started trading at them, just discovered that there's so many other games out there. So Saga was the first one that really sort of took a hook. But now, well, since knowing Mike as well, there's not enough time for all the games that I want to play. So
Yeah, I think most of us have that sort of problem.
yeah. So we played some Sword and Spear, Frostgrave currently. Saga was big. Lots of bits of other games, Clash of Empires, all of those sorts. And now it's mostly games that I can get into quickly and not have to spend a long time getting it all together. So the idea of doing another Warhammer Fantasy Army or anything like that on that scale is just kind of feels unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you just have the one fantasy army, or did you have multiples?
I started when I'd moved to Cardiff, I left quite a few things back at my parents', as you do, and I phoned them up and said, I've got back into Warhammer now. Next time I'm down, I'll pick it all up. And Will said, I didn't think you're into that anymore, so I gave it all to the charity shop.
What?
And yeah, I had loads. I'd amassed loads, because it turned out that same place she got the White Dwarfs off eventually just had all sorts of Warhammer there as well, so pretty much every time they had any, she brought it back. And, are these any good? And it's units of stuff. So yeah, I had loads of it. So went straight into Firestorm Games, but right, I need some more stuff. So I got vampires just as I had before, because I thought, that's sort of nostalgic and kind of want to build them up again and obviously do them better. So it was those for a while, and then I ended up playing Chaos Dwarves, but with a twist. So they were Chaos Gnomes, which I'm not sure if you've seen.
Oh,
Yeah.
These are the infamous Chaos Gnomes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they ended up being my main army, and took them around a load of different tournaments. So they were Chaos Dwarf rules, but converted into a sort of pink and blue farmyard monstrosity.
What? And they actually let you play with them?
Yeah, well, there was an initial uproar from some people, but I think I went on a bit of a campaign for them to be taken seriously, weirdly enough, even though they're obviously not serious. But I spent a long time converting and painting them up. So although they're silly, they're not gimmick in the same way as the guy that puts, My Little Ponies on a bait or something. I think they were a very good conversion project anyway. They made people laugh. They got accepted by the end of it. And they're obviously very fond of them.
You're saying you had some fairly negative experiences as far as Games Workshop and stuff was concerned. Would that be, not wishing to address the elephant in the room too much, but would that be because you were a female of the species?
Oh, definitely. Then that sort of formed my opinion at the start, that's kind of what gamers were like, and I kind of just accepted that was what I'd have to put up with.
Right.
And it was, again, once I started going to the gaming centre, that I realised that that's just a very, very small percentage of the people, and that there's lots of normal people.
You sure
not
about
all
that?
creepy.
Hello.
Yeah, it was actually really off-putting initially. That I'm just quite stubborn with that sort of thing. So if I feel like I probably shouldn't be somewhere, or people are making me feel like I shouldn't, then I'll push on even more.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a bit of a shame, because there would be people that would be put off by it that otherwise could have converted.
I can kind of sort of imagine, because as I say, you're as far as minorities in gaming are concerned, you're probably certainly one of the a member of one of the smaller minorities, shall we say?
Yeah.
As that in itself, I would imagine holds a few issues for people. Maybe something to have a bit more of a conversation about later. I think we might potentially come back to that. So. Tournament scene. So you got into tournament gaming really quickly, yeah?
Yeah. The first tournament I did was Cardiff Carnage, and I hadn't been playing that long, so pretty much as soon as I'd started learning to play again, I was practicing for a tournament.
Right.
So I was utterly nervous when I started that first one, because I had no idea what to expect. Images coming in last and getting no points, and everyone doing some sort of faux pas that I wasn't quite aware what the faux pas would be. Mm-hmm. But no, that all went well, and I thought, this is great. You get to play some games, meet lots of people, and travel around and drink beer, and that's all the things that I like sort of rolled into one.
I mean, having not been a tournament gamer at all, stupid question, but how big is the tournament scene in the UK?
For Warhammer, it was huge. It's currently gone a bit strange at the moment because of the Age of Sigmar's sort of split it a little bit. Mm. But up until the start of the year, it was a lot bigger than I would have realised. The independent scene, there was probably a tournament almost every weekend somewhere. And there's some huge tournaments. So like South Coast GT was selling out in seconds for about 200 spots.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so it's really big for Warhammer, and I haven't looked into other scenes very much, as if to go into other than just looking at what other people are up to.
Yeah.
So the only other tournament that I played in was the Saga Grand Melee last year, and wanted to start doing more Saga. I thought, oh great, I can do Saga at tournaments now, but a lot of them are held at trade shows, so I'm usually selling and sort of living for other people.
That's a nice segue into the next question.
Yes, okay. So at what point did you cease to become just a gamer and actually decide that you could actually make a business out of this?
When I got back into it, joined the game centre, one of the first things I did, because I went, right, I'll get my army, my dice, my tape measure, and it just seemed, well, what do I put my dice in? And I've been crocheting for years. That was also a big hobby, and I'd previously been selling other crocheted things. So I thought I'll just make myself a cool bag to put them in. Didn't really think about it, because at that point, anything that I didn't have and could crochet, I'd just sort of do it automatically.
Right.
And then obviously, I took it to games, to tournaments, and people start asking about them. So I sort of just started doing them around Firestorm, then around the tournament scene, and then they just got more and more popular. But this was alongside when I was still at university. Then when I was working, it was a sort of evening, weekend type thing.
Yeah.
And then it managed to get to a point where I was at work and all I wanted to do was make some bags because it was much more fun. So I managed to turn that maybe 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, into full-time. I'm just doing it full-time.
All right, so it's the archetypal cottage industry that just that just got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, it grew initially. I think what was really good for its growth was that I was doing so many tournaments that the word of mouth was just sort of keeping it going.
Yeah.
Because it was quite late on that I actually even had a website. I just sort of ran it through Facebook and people emailing me or getting me on Twitter. And I didn't really see it as anything that big. But it was quite quickly that people from different countries started asking about them, and then the queue of people that wanted, because I make them all by hand, the queue was sort of getting longer and longer. And obviously they were getting better as well. Yeah. So I was comparing ones that I'd done at the start, and whilst they were still good, the quality that I'd got to was so much better. And by up to current points now, I'm really pleased. I think I've really developed something that wasn't there before. So there was obviously different companies making dice bags, but the style I feel like I developed myself.
Yeah.
Sort of created that whole thing going on there. So the crocheted bags, but then there's the stitched felt embellishment as well. So people were getting them with all sorts of images on top. So it wasn't just a bag, it was something personalised.
Yeah, and I seem to get the impression that the majority of these that you do are actually kind of unique. Yeah,
well they were. The first show I went to was Salute last year, and right. Up until that point, every single bag I'd made was custom. So some obviously just wanted the same as another person had, but I didn't do stock bags to sell. They were all just made to order. Yeah. It was only when I got a last-minute spot at Salute I thought, oh, I don't actually have anything to put on the table, so I better have a look through, see what's popular, and make a set of designs and see how that goes.
Right. And how did that go?
Excellent, way better than... Again, it's the first show. I've got no idea what to expect. I was sharing with Thundercloud Miniatures that at last minute said, oh, do you want a spot on our table?
Yeah.
It was too good to turn down. meant having to cancel one of the tournaments I'd been trying to get into for years. It's better be worth it. And yeah, it was just brilliant. Just getting out, I think, because I'd been doing it from almost sort of a bedroom industry rather than a cottage industry. Just getting out, seeing people, meeting customers. And yeah, they went down, the store was crowded all day. It was brilliant. And it left me on quite a big buzz to do more shows.
So when did you sort of move into sort of the Bad Squiddo Games and start selling more stuff? Was that just a natural progression from, just to have more stuff on the stall?
The last year, maybe a bit earlier on, I started doing some other things where I was selling the dice, some gems, just sort of things that complement the bags, but only little bits. Mm-hmm. And then about August last year, I started getting issues with my wrists that just wouldn't seem to go away. So obviously I was working, the amount of hours I was working was a bit crazy when I think about it, just doing the same thing. So I was getting up about 6 or 7, sometimes just sort of propping myself up in bed and just crocheting and just doing bags all day until, sometimes 11, 12, having a few hours sleep and just sort of in a cycle of just constantly doing it. And it obviously massively disagreed with my wrists. So last summer it started getting really bad. I took some time off, it got better. January it happened again, and it was knowing that this rest isn't going to fix it, and I can't keep going at the speed and intensity as well as I could. And it's also sort of mentally sapping to do that day in, day out. Yeah. So, I thought I need to sell some other things. So Saga was a game at the time that I was playing a lot and really enjoying. And I thought, well, I'm telling people all the time about how great this game is and how they should buy it and giving them all sorts of help, with what they need. So, well, why don't I sell it? Because then at least I can get some money out of that, And it's a good start to sell something that I already know lots about and I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So Saga was the first sort of big thing that I added to the shop, other than just little, couple of pound accessories. And I think that was the point where it started to take off quite a bit better through normal shop sales. Yeah.
Okay, so now you stock a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
Other than just Saga and dice bags. So how do you actually go about choosing what you stock?
Well, I should probably talk about the female miniatures, which was the next step from that, wasn't it?
Oh, right, okay.
So that propelled to the point that my shop is at now. So there was Saga, and then I thought, okay, I'll give it a couple of months, I'll see again what my wrists are like. But Salute was coming up as well. I thought, I can't go to Salute and just not have that much stuff. It's been a whole build-up, Luckily, because I'd almost preempted that it was going to happen, or that at least I was going to be busy. Yeah. So I'd been sort of stashing away bags specifically to be Salute bags, so it wasn't going to be totally empty. I actually had quite a lot, but it still wasn't enough for these great plans that I'd sort of had. So if I need to do something, it's quite easy now to sort of forget how bad it was, because the bags were my whole livelihood. But they were absolutely wrecking my hands. Yeah. And it was that conflict of, I can't do it, and people saying, oh, you need to rest. But I can't rest because I need to pay my bills. Oh, yes. I need to live. This is the only way I have to make money. And I think a lot of people didn't realise that, because they thought that, craft is hobby. But it wasn't. That was it. Yeah. So I had a point where my money is going to run out really quickly. And I don't know. I don't want to work in the real world again. I quite like being in my own little gaming world, really. I'm sort of imagining trying to patch together a CV of, I've been making bags for the last few years, No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You have been running your own craft business. That's it. But that's the sort of thing that no matter how, and honestly, it was really hard work, but no one's going to look at that on a CV. They're just going to think, oh, so you bummed around, you haven't really worked, have you? So I was starting to get stressed about that. So I thought, I'll have one more shot. And something that I was very passionate about, and obviously still am, is female miniatures. Right. So something that had been bothering me for a while and it just suddenly occurred to me that I could actually do something about it now. So I'd been playing Saga, and I wanted some shield maidens that would fight in my Saga force. I thought that's an easy enough thing. I'll go on the internet, see what I can find.
Right.
I want some women in Dark Age gear with swords.
At this point you discover that gamers are basically misogynistic?
I already knew that. Now this was quite early on in playing Saga, where I initially sort of noticed that you just couldn't get shield maidens. There were a couple sort of dotted about, but they were either hard to get or in packs, that you can't split the packs and you go buy the other ones, and then I just got quite confused that the thing that I assumed would be really easy to find wasn't, because they're obviously in chainmail bikinis or just not right, or some of them were fine, but they were Valkyries. I thought, I just want historical shield maidens. I don't know why that's an issue. So, come on, a year later, I thought, well, I could try and produce them. Maybe that'll work.
Which is a pretty big step. It's fine going off and sort of speaking to suppliers and getting their stuff in. We'll come back to that, because that's really important. But actually turn around and going, I'm going to produce my own range of figures. That takes some balls.
Well, obviously not.
Yeah. No, I think a really big turning point before I even really knew it was moving my office from my bedroom to Firestorm.
Yeah.
So it was January that I moved into here, where I am now. And that immediately got me around other companies. So I'm working alongside Great Escape Games, Model Display Products, and Firestorm. So that's immediately other people from totally different businesses. They can offer all sorts of different angles of advice. So before, I probably would have just sort of had the idea and maybe not known how to do it, but I had all these people to bounce my ideas off. So I said, maybe I could do that. And the answer was, well, yeah, sure, this is how the process works. Okay.
For people who don't know the process, because a lot of the people who listen to this are sort of gamers and stuff, and they sort of think that these figures just arrive in packs and they buy them.
They're bored.
Or they think, or they think there's these manufacturing firms out there which you just do everything, and there are. But you're not a manufacturer. You don't have any vulcanizing presses or spin molding and stuff.
Nope.
You're just somebody who's got some good ideas. So how do you go from those ideas to sort of finding sculptors, to finding producers to actually do this stuff?
Yeah, well, I still feel at the moment that I'm still at that point of sort of learning everything as I'm going and almost tripping over myself because it's moving so fast. I'm going, I don't know what's going on. But that happened. So this was still in the run-up to Salute. The sculptor that I found was someone that one of my friends had already used, and he was local. So I contacted him and said, don't suppose by any chance. So, he was super up for the idea, Phil Hines, who I still use. So I sent him some sketches. So I sketched the initial concept for them, rather than getting someone else to do it. So these are the ideas, and then with lots of notes and lots of historical notes on Vikings, and going, make sure you don't do this, and this bit's quite important. And that's kind of it. And then he comes back with the sculpts. And then initially I cast them in resin, because there's resin casting on site at Firestorm.
Right. So
it can happen immediately. And it's all in-house, so I can pass that over, and then I can get the sculpts. And it's less setup costs to do it in resin than it is in metal. So I thought, well, I still have no idea if anyone will want to buy these other than me, because a few people I'd sort of spoke to weren't that excited, and a couple of companies had said, yeah, it's a nice idea, but no one's going to buy it because all gamers want is women with their boobs out. So I thought, well, if it all goes to hell, then I've got that unit that I wanted. Maybe a couple other people might like it, and we'll see how it goes. And because we ended up rushing for Salute, and it just didn't happen in the end, just because the time frame was too short. So I ended up with one figure, and so few of her that she just sold out just as soon as the doors had opened at Salute. But all day they were just coming up constantly asking if I had any. But on the other hand, I thought, well, this is a great idea.
Mind you,
rest-
I suppose at the same time, given the figure you were selling, it rather helped that there was a TV series with a really strong female character in it.
Yeah, that was the name was sort of added to it to draw the interest.
Yeah,
but it wasn't so much based. It was sort of very loosely based, but made a bit more historical.
Yeah, but
yeah, that being popular, I think, did help and has been helping. And obviously, starting with a figure for a game which is popular, such as Saga, also helps because you make a lovely figure. But if you've got no reason to use it, then obviously some people buy stuff regardless. But if there's a reason that they can shoehorn it in, then all the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out everyone, lots and lots of people had exactly the same dilemma as I had. And they were super, super happy to see these Shield Maidens appear.
So, once you got the Shield Maidens out, you then started to expand the sort of realistic female miniature sort of range, by bringing in other manufacturers.
Yeah, I actually started off with the other manufacturers before I think that was just before I'd made the crazy step to make my own. So I started off very small, and I remember recently looking at the tiny box I had the whole stock of them in, thinking, oh, this is quite a lot of models. So I started off with some of the pulp models, pulp figures and artisan, and just a couple of bits and bobs, and that was sort of the last bit of money that I had left over. So it was this has got to work, and this is a bit of a crazy idea, really, because so many people are telling me not to do it. So let's see how it goes.
Right. Yeah, because so many people are basically of the opinion that all the average gamer wants to buy, if they're buying female figures, are, as you aptly said, ladies with their boobs out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't so much people telling me it was a stupid idea, but that it's a lovely idea, but realistically, perhaps that's not going to be the thing that will make money, and you're probably just going to ruin yourself a little bit. But I thought, right, I've started it now, and I'm gonna stubborn it out. So I had a decent. So it only started in March, and April was Salute. So I had a decent amount. I obviously had nowhere near what I do now, but I had a decent amount of different ranges. I've just realised I haven't even introduced what the believable female miniatures sort of thing is. So
tell us what the believable female miniatures are.
Hopefully everyone listening will already know what it is. But basically, so I wanted to start a collection on my site of places where you could buy specifically female miniatures, but ones that weren't over-sexualised, or they were appropriate for what they were going to do. So that was where the Shield Maidens came in, that they're wearing armour, they're wearing tunics, trousers, boots, and then to sort of go into different periods, genres, and follow that. So they're not stupid, they're wearing what they would wear, which sort of is a massive niche, but it's not. My main point was that should be the standard. That should be normal, in the same way that you buy a World War II man.
Yes.
He's a World War II guy, so you should be able to buy a World War II woman, but she'll probably be leaning over on something with a few buttons undone or something like that. But that should be the side sort of weirdity, and not the side weirdity being the just normal.
Being the norm.
It's such a hard thing to explain sometimes, because it's just, to me, it makes perfect sense. And
I mean, I'll take your point, because it is a case of, as you say, if you look through most miniature ranges, as soon as you come across females, and I suppose this is partly, I mean, maybe it goes right back to, you start looking at fancy artwork.
Yeah, and, especially the 80s.
Well, yeah, quite. I mean, and especially if you start looking at things like anything from Franz Francesco or have you, but yes, and
Horace Vallejo.
well, yeah, as you say, basically anything from the 80s forward.
You can probably go back a lot further than that. When you start reading things like Conan novels, which I've read quite a lot of, they're highly sexualized. All of the females in there are, Belit, who's one of the main characters, was wandering around wearing a thong in the middle of battle, which it can't be healthy.
No.
That's probably why she died.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler! Damn it, I've spoiled the ending of a 100-year-old novel.
Oh, damn. So yeah, the main point was that I didn't want to censor anything. I didn't want to take anything away from people. You know, if that's what you want to buy, that's fine. But it shouldn't be difficult to find non-scantily clad female miniatures. That shouldn't be a problem. So it was more to introduce choice to people, and then if they choose the other way, that's fine. But they could know that there is an option, and they can just choose a woman that's going to do what they're going to do. Yeah. But I'd spent years sort of looking for this sort of thing anyway, and I thought, well, I've kind of already got a bit of a mental knowledge of where these things are. So if I can do all the searching, I can put it all in one place, and they can get it from one site.
Yeah.
It's a great idea just having them all together, because you're opening up ranges to people who probably haven't seen them before.
Yeah, so I wanted to have some of the well-known popular ranges and then some smaller ones, and sort of, even now, I've started gathering from all sorts of different countries, which is another bonus. So you're ordering maybe one model from America, one from England, one from Poland, and you're getting it all at the same time with just one postage. So that's the sort of convenience for it.
Yeah.
So, I just sort of started off with a couple of companies, and some of it was a few models. So some companies I have now, I've got a huge range, or maybe one model. But that was the point, that if they just have that one model, I know that someone looking for it might not even find it amongst the huge catalogue that a lot of companies have. And it shows as well, you know, you've got walls of blisters, things are going to get missed. So to put it all in one place, and hopefully it'll work. That was my plan back in March.
Yeah. So you say you started off with a small range at Salute.
So I had a little 6 foot at Salute with it all sort of crammed on.
Okay, so how many models did you have at Salute? About?
Oh, I have no idea. I was trying to think about this earlier. I don't think I could even give you a number. It's all I can think of is that it was not many and now it's lots. That doesn't really help. I was trying to think. I was looking at my site thinking, how many products have I got? That's crazy.
So you put to my next question, so it was because it was like, okay, so how many did you start with, and how many have you grown to? What you're telling me is you have no idea.
No, it was small, and now it's big.
I mean, you've got a huge range of different manufacturers there, haven't you?
So yeah, Salute was the test, I guess, and it timed very well, because I thought, well, if it fails at Salute's the place to test this sort of stuff, isn't it? Because Salute's the show where people spend money. So if Salute goes well, I'll stick at it. If it doesn't go well, I'll stick at it for a bit and pretend that it went well because I'm stubborn until it gets to a point where I can't anymore. And then Salute was it was insane. The stall was just rammed, and anyone who saw it at Salute, people were messaging afterwards that I couldn't even get to you. It was just totally rammed full of people all day. And people all day as well coming over, some that bought things and some that didn't, just saying that the projects are brilliant and they're really behind it and it's much needed and all this. And it just gave me this big rush of, it's like, this is great. It is actually working. Because I was even though I put it as a last ditch sort of, I hope this works, I still didn't have that much confidence that it would. So it was a massive shock when it got so popular. So I got back from Salute and went, brilliant, right. Gonna get some more sculpts, some more ranges, and since then it's just been, I've been able to do way more shows because I haven't just got dice bags, which I have to make myself. So I do more shows, and then each time I come back with that, like, that was brilliant. The shows this year have just been incredible. And to come back and then just go, right, what should I get now? And I've got this sort of list of companies that I keep out, like, right, I've got enough to add these now, and I can try these guys out. Now I'm getting more and more into producing miniatures. I think, right, which one shall I do next? And that's really good.
You've got a bit of subtle difference in the ranges. You've got your Dark Age figures, which be included, which are going really well.
The Shield Maidens.
Yeah, the Shield Maidens. And then you've dropped in some female orcs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, when I started the whole thing, I was kind of focusing personally, because I wanted to focus on historical, because that's where there seemed to be a big lack. So fantasy, there's millions of female characters, and then there's a lot more choice of the believable female miniatures, just because there's more out there.
Yeah.
But I found that the historical figures to find, that's ended up the smallest part of my website, and that's the one that I really wanted to be the biggest. So I thought, okay, I'll I'll focus my own miniatures into historical. But I've also found that, because I've been working with quite a few different sculptors now, that I want them to be infused by the project as well, and sort of bouncing ideas off them. So sometimes go, what do you want to do? So Phil, he finished the Shield Maidens, and then he kind of went, can I have a play with doing an orc, maybe? Okay. You know what? There's barely any female orcs, and almost any monster type archetypes that are female kind of lose out even more, because they're kind of grossified a bit more.
Yeah.
So if say it's a female troll or orc, the boobs will be out, and there'll just be something that makes people go, that's not nice, or they're funny, or they're not sort of serious and cool. So there's not many cool orcs. So let's make some cool orcs that you think, they're badass, but they're female. So he made a fighter, and then he made a mage. So that's Mog and Bloom, and they've gone down well as well. So I thought, well, okay, sure, let's make some more orcs. That's a gap that I hadn't even thought about before, but that's obviously there as well. So now there's games like Frostgrave and Otherworld, Fantasy Skirmish are popular. So let's just make sort of archetype dungeon crawling orcs. So that's what's happening at the moment. So 2 are out, but I've got much more have just been cast. They've just had their master castings yesterday, so they're coming out hopefully for Crisis. Just more female orcs. And why not?
Right. And obviously, going back on the historicals for Derby, you had some female Viking berserkers, didn't you?
Yeah. They had 1 pack left at the end of that. That was crazy. And again, it's still, because it had been quite a gap since I'd released anything. It almost returned to that. I hope people still like it. And yeah, that just went brilliant. So Shield Maidens are really popular, and they're going to continue as almost as a complete sort of Viking range or Dark Age range.
Yeah.
But then there's other bits. There's so much I want to do that I'm trying to keep relatively honed, and then occasionally sort of treating myself and going, okay, I'll do this totally irrelevant thing, such as the Schoolgirls, which came out at Derby as well. I thought, okay, that's an idea. Why the hell not? Let's do that one now. Because there's just so much. There's so many gaps that I kind of want to fill with them, and so many really cool ideas. That it is, when I get that money, that I go, right, I've got this spare bit of money now, I can pass this to some sculptors, and just don't know which one to pick. Which model shall I do now? Which is exciting.
So you've just moved to metal production as well, haven't you?
Yeah, that was Derby, was the launch of metal. So that was because the resin was easy to set up, and it was cheaper to set up, but it's very slow, because it's all manual. And there was part of the time I was demolding them myself with my hands that don't work. And after a while, why am I doing this? This isn't helping me at all. And it's just you maybe get a few out a day, but the demand was just so big that I ended up with queues. And I thought, I like to be able to, someone place their order and I can get it out the same day. Having them queued, and all the resin casters seem to be quite filled up with everyone wanting to use them. So now I'm confident that they'll sell. I can pay. So metal casting, you have to pay more to set up the molds, which can be considerably more if you have quite a lot of different production molds. I thought, well, I know that I can make that back now, and it's worth it. So let's move into metal, and that also means I can phone them up. I can get a big load delivered in a couple of days, and that means that I'm not chasing my stock around, which was getting quite stressful. And that eventually, hopefully quite soon, I'll be able to get my Shield Maidens into other people's shops as well, which is also exciting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, metal's been working out well, and some people have personal tastes, but some people prefer resin, some prefer metal. But the metal is just so much easier for the amount that people want,
Yeah, it is. I mean, like you say, it's easy to just phone up Mark and go, "Can I have a couple of 100, please, Mark?"
Yeah.
Pop them in a box for you, Eddie. Thank you.
Yeah, I think. Oh.
Go on.
I think as I had so much time, sort of when I was just doing the bags, of being sort of overwhelmed by people wanting things and me not being able to get them out fast enough. And then when it started happening with Shield Maidens, it became this whole thing again where Well, having things out of my control was a new thing that I had to deal with. So before, if I couldn't get a bag out, it was just because I hadn't had the time, or maybe on a very rare off chance I couldn't find the yarn or something. But most of the time it was just me dealing with me.
Yeah. But
when you're dealing with a whole bunch of other people that are in the process, then, someone's saying, oh, when will the Shield Maidens be back? But I don't know. And hopefully they'll have some more next week, but I'm not sure, And then the caster said he's been too busy, so hasn't been able to do it. And that's sort of a thing that I had to get my head around. So to get things quicker is always good.
Yeah.
So the shop's going from strength to strength.
Yep.
You get lots of good ranges on, and I mean the list of manufacturers you got for the female ranges is really, they're great ranges in there.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you do.
Sorry, can we have a for instance, please?
You mean the types of
Yeah,
manufacturers?
You say, we've got some great manufacturers. Okay, so who have you got?
I've got it up on my screen, so I don't have to think off the top of my head. Last time I looked, I think I had about 55 of them. So some are just bits and some are huge ranges. But for instance, I've got pulp, so I've got artisan pulp figures, some copplestone. They were the ones that I kind of started with. Statuesque, great in the sci-fi, Fenris, Heresy. So I've got those UK companies. In the sort of super big leagues, I've got Reaper, which is one that people find hard to get. So having Reaper models for people that are in stock as well is quite a big thing.
Well, yeah, and especially when you've got a whole load of stuff by someone like Werner Klock, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is one of the guys who really knows how to sculpt a female figure.
Yeah, he's ace. But something like Reaper, their catalogue, some people just don't know where to start in that because it's so big. And each time I order off them, I go through it again, try and find new keywords that I can put in to try and find something I haven't seen yet. So that one's grown each time. And I order things in for people as well. If it's even nothing to do with believable female miniatures, it's people struggle to get it, so just pop it onto my order, it's fine. So the bones, monsters and stuff. But yeah, other people I've got Otherworld, which I was really happy when I hadn't really seen them than through Mike, because I associated them with monsters.
Yeah.
And I saw someone's blog post and I went, oh, those miniatures are brilliant, and I got pointed to Otherworld. And I'd seen that in their description they'd already said that all of their dungeon explorers were there to be suitably equipped with what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So, to find people that were already doing it and then being able to give them more exposure and sort of celebrate it a bit was really good. And I import quite a few as well from America. So there's companies which might not be so well known in the UK, such as Dragon Baits, DGS, On the Lam, which are all great, and they're all great people to work with as well. But yeah, there's so many, and then there's big, the huge names that I have a couple of bits off, such as Malifaux, War Machine, Hordes and War Machine, those sort of Discworld, just bits and bobs from there. Crooked Dice, because it's just loads and loads of companies.
Okay, so thanks. That just kind of gives people a bit of a flavour if they never come across it before. That gives people a bit of a flavour of what's the kind of stuff that's available. Yeah,
it's that mix of big, well-established companies and then smaller one-man operations that I hope that people would go. They'd see the names like Reaper and go, "Oh, brilliant!" and that'd draw them in. And then they'd go, "Oh, I've never seen these guys. Oh, that's a nice model. I've never seen that before." And they might not have seen it otherwise.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that's great, and it's good for manufacturers because you are pushing out their figures to a whole new demographic.
Yeah.
So like Heresy and people like that.
Looking for that specific item.
Yeah, you sort of go looking for your shop and go, oh, what's that Heresy miniature? I'll just pick it up, and then suddenly you've opened up to a brand new range of figures. Yeah.
So I like to think that it's mutually beneficial for both of us as well, because there's very few where I'd stock the entire range. So someone might go, oh, this model, I've not heard of Heresy before, and then go on the website and go, oh, he does a dragon.
Not anymore.
Yeah. They go, you can't order it. But yeah, they'll see this whole new company that they've not seen before, and they go, they might look at the chaps or the monsters, or some of them, such as Endless on the Lamb. They're a whole gaming system. So a couple of the models might introduce them to that system, and it all sort of branches off like that quite nicely, I think.
Are you going to sort of bring in rule sets like that onto your site? Because obviously you're doing Saga, you're doing Frostgrave, and we'll chat about those two in a minute. But are there any other sort of rule books that you're thinking of stocking because of the figures?
Yeah, well, Endless was one that I really want to. It's just that I've got to wait till that point where I've got enough money. So the money is constantly sort of being juggled around. And the priority is the female miniatures. And more so now, as long as I can keep my stuff I like to keep my website well stocked. So I'd keep that well stocked. And at the moment, I want to make more and more miniatures. So at some points where I would have brought in another range, I've sort of put that money towards the miniatures. So when I look at expanding the ranges and doing the male models or the rules, I think, well, that money it's not ready yet, it's not time. That I don't want to spread it too thin. So at some point I'd like to bring in Endless, and DGS are Free Blades, a game called Free Blades, which also, I think this is brilliant. I'm only bringing in part of their range, but it's so great. I want to bring the whole lot in. But I'm trying to do everything in a sort of controlled stages. Or you could very easily just run out of money and go, I'm going to get all of this, and then it's too thin, and then juggling with keeping things in stock. So just trying to do it quite tight. So Otherworld is the one that I've started off with recently. So I'll bring in the Otherworld rules. I'm slowly going to increase the miniatures. So I've just updated yesterday. I've added some of the Gribblies from Otherworld, and I'm just sort of slowly growing them. Because trying to get across to people that even if I stock one miniature from a range, it means that I've got access to the whole lot. Yeah. So if people want to order from me, and at the same, especially if they're overseas, if they go, oh, she's got the Green Lady from Mantic, that's cool. Right, I need to order some, Kings of War rules. They can actually get it here. Just obviously got to order it in. So just sort of build an awareness of that as well. But it wouldn't be the direction that I want to go in, to expand all of those, to get King's War rules and stuff like that, because there's a lot of shops just selling stuff. Yeah. So I like to keep it quite focused. So even though the direction's not straight, there are lots of little directions, keeping them all tight together. Don't know if that makes any sense.
It does, yeah.
But lately, I've wanted to start stocking more rules lately, so I do sort of look around, but it's things it's easy for me to get and easy for me to restock. So if I get them from distributors, I order from those most weeks. So it's not something where it would be expensive to sort of keep on top of it. If I can keep ordering them in, keep a regular sort of flow of it, then it's okay. I was looking at the Two Fat Lardies rules yesterday, actually, and thinking about adding them in the Dux Britannium.
That'd be good.
Oh, yes.
We're big fans of the Lardies.
Oh, indeed.
Yes. The other thing I do like that you do is you don't just take people's products and just sell them. You sort of put your own twist on them. With things like Skin Saga is just this fantastic concept. Do you want to sort of explain that a little bit? And also tell us how you got that past Lord S.
Basically, it's the Saga box sets. Saga's a game that you don't have to spend that much to get into, but there's still people that either haven't got the money or just don't want to spend it. So the plastic box set's a great value. So what I've done is I've split. So the Viking warband's quite simple. It's just the Viking in a Dark Age box split in half. But you do get some nice MDF round bases as well. But it just saves you. You can buy the two boxes and split them between a mate and get the same thing. But if you just want the one, then you've got a warband for 23 quid, and it's the whole lot. So it's a really accessible way to get into the game. Because I sell everything at retail price, because I'm not a massive fan of discounting, especially mass discounting. But I like to do things that help people out, such as the bundles. So that's not something that you can just, knock 10% off or whatever. It's actually going a bit further and, going through the boxes, splitting them, repackaging them, I've typed out little rules of how they put them together. And then with the Arab cavalry, when that came out, I thought, oh, brilliant. What I can do there is split those up. And that took so long, because they're on sprues of 3, which really doesn't help. So splitting those boxes up with the archers to be able to get a much cheaper start into Saga with the plastics without having all the wasted sprues, because if you buy all those boxes, it still ends up expensive. So just little bits like that help people get in. And so some of them are 4 points, some of them are 6.
Well, it's a great idea. I mean, you've even mixed sort of Grip and Beast and Conquest miniatures.
Yeah, there was one, which one's that? The Bretons, yeah. So I've got the Conquest Knights with, I can't think off the top of my head, but that's not one that I sell as many of. The Breton Warlord, so you can split the Knights up, but you also get the Warlord. I've just seen that the Conquest Archers have come out, or they're coming out very soon. So that's one, because I tried to do a Norman warband, but by the time you add the blisters in, they can't really do it. But having those plastic archers is going to be the next one.
Yeah, they're due out. Well, as we're recording this, they're due out kind of imminently next couple of days, aren't they? Yeah. Yes,
that'll be brilliant. Just sort of mixing them to doing that sort of extra favour for people. So the Conquest Knights that I sell are based on personal experience, because you get them in boxes of 15. And when I bought them for myself, for my own Saga warband, you need 16, really, depending on what you're doing. Because Saga's all 4s and 8s and 12s. Well, not 12s for the mounted, but you end up with 3 left over. So, because when it started off, I already had most of a box left over from my own ones. So
you just buy 3 boxes.
You could do that. Yeah, instead of
if you're particularly mad and want to buy
that'd be a bit too crazy. Yeah, instead of something like just flat discounting. It's like, no, they're the same price, they're retail price, but you get a free extra guy. So if you get them from me, I put them in a little bag and sort of team them on there with the free extra guy. So that saves you. That's like a favour, you don't have to buy another box. But then I ran out of extra guys and had to make my own. I had to split another box of extra guys. But that's very popular, just doing that. And I think people like that sort of extra touch.
Well, it just makes it easier to buy, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been there, man. I know how frustrating it is.
And you've done similar stuff with Frostgrave as well, haven't you? You've had to play around with what you can do with that.
Yeah, Frostgrave just sort of hit me suddenly at one of the shows, and I've just had so many people buying fantasy, and I knew it was around, but I didn't know that much about it. And sort of went, well, again, most of the things I've done has been on a not very confident, I'll see how it goes. Well, I buy in a few Frostgrave blisters, maybe people will buy them off me, I don't know. And now I've got boxes of them, so people were buying the female miniatures for Frostgrave, because it's only 10 people aside, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And you can highly customise it. So a lot of people are saying, oh, great, we can do female warbands. Where can we get a range of female miniatures from? Dice Bag Lady. So they were already doing that. So I thought, well, if I get all the official things in as well, it's a bit of a one-stop shop. And then I sat there, and I think I spent 2 days going through the whole range of the fantasy figures that I stock and grouping them. So I read through the book, and this actually looks like a really good game. And I can see without having played it at the start, I could see which models would be suited to which character types, so which would make a good obviously which one would make a crossbow, but which one could be a good thief or a barbarian. So I went through all the blisters and gone, right, well, this one's got 2-handed weapon, but lighter armour, this has got heavier armour, and sort of categorised them all on the site, so it was easy to browse through to form your warband. And that was how that started, and that's just sort of grown. Again, that's become really popular. Frostgrave's currently just really big for me. The Frostgrave one-stop shop, which started with that and the rules, has now got alternative manufacturer, warhounds, terrain. There's a terrain that I import from Poland, which is just insanely popular. Ristal's terrain, the treasure piles.
Oh, yeah.
And things like crystals from Wargame Terrain Workshop. So in the same way as the female miniatures project, this Frostgrave thing it works the same, that it's a one-stop shop. So you can pretty much get everything you need from one place, and things, where you might go, oh, they're really nice crystals, but I just want one pack, and I don't want to pay the postage to then go to another website and buy all these nice treasure chests, but then it's another few pounds postage. You can get it all in one shot, and that's been really popular.
Because you did have a play around with the Frostgrave Soldier set and some female heads, didn't you?
Yeah, that was good. There was a chap, one of my customers on Twitter had put up that he'd had a go at it. I thought, that's a brilliant idea. I hadn't thought about that. Some of the heads I sell, I've got another part of my website. It's a conversion lab. So for your plastics, you can just add female heads. And I've got some green stuff and some instant mold as well, if you want to play around with that. So to make troops, you don't have to buy, because I appreciate that a lot of figures, say they're around £5, to make a mass, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So if you can just swap the heads, it's so much easier. So yeah, he'd put them on the Frostgrave. And I was trying to tell people that, you don't need to... It was on Lead Adventure. There were a lot of people asking about, they should do female adventurer plastics. I thought it'd be a great idea, but you don't need to. Plastics are really expensive to manufacture. And you don't need to do it, because all you need to do is swap the heads. Because they're in a frozen city. They're going to look the same. They're going to have millions of layers on and stuff. And there was a lot of people saying...
No, they won't. No, they'll be there.
They'll have their furry bikinis on.
Yes, that's right.
They didn't. Some people didn't seem to be quite getting it, so I went, okay, fine, I'm going to march to my shop. So I sort of logged off and marched to my shop. And I used, they'd not long brought out the bold heads. So I thought, I'm going to get the bold heads and have a go at sculpting some hair on as well. Yeah. So these conversions ended up much better than I was kind of expecting. And they fit so perfectly that they look like that's how they should be. They don't look like conversions. So once I put them up, my website started going a bit nuts with people buying heads and soldiers together. So yeah, that's good. That's worked. And it still happens. A lot of the soldiers I sell the heads with at the same time. And again, that's something else that's not offered anywhere else. So adding, a lot of people now add the women to their warband, which is always good, and that they want to add not furry bikini types. I posted that up on Lead Adventure, and then I got a message from Joe McClough, is it? Joe, who wrote the rules, who wrote Frostgrave.
Yes, Joe McCulloch, yeah.
McCulloch, that's it. And he said that he really, really appreciated the project, and that one of the things when he was writing it was that he'd sent a note out basically saying no dodgy cheesecake artwork or figures. And that was great, knowing that there's other people in that position that are also, sort of fighting the same fight, as it were. So that's cool.
So I take it from all this that the project has actually caught people's imagination, and the doomsayers that have turned around and said, "I'm sorry, you'll never sell these because all gamers want are have been proven wrong." Yeah,
I think a lot of people have sort of taken note and maybe weren't quite so brave or stubborn or angry, and have sort of watched it do well for me. And I've noticed some of the customers, because I talk to so many different companies, so I talk to all of my suppliers, and some of them I talk to quite a lot. But then there's other companies that are sort of different or perhaps don't supply me, but I still chat to. And I've noticed that, I don't know if it's coincidence, but I'm going to decide that it's my fault, that there seems to be more and more properly dressed, a bit less boob plate from people that maybe were doing a bit more boob plate before, where the armour's sculpted into share type things. Maybe then they would do that, but now they've sort of looked at the tide of public opinion and sort of gone, oh, actually, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, because that's sort of what you do. When you sculpt or draw, you sort of look at what everyone else is sculpting and drawing, and I think that sort of thing has become second nature until maybe someone points it out. So I feel like it's been very positive what I'm doing, but I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure that it's sort of filtering into the community and into different companies, which is ace.
Since things are proving quite popular, and it sounds like more and more stuff is taking off for you, where do you go from here?
There's a lot more that I can do now, and that's also exciting. There's lots of things that are exciting at the moment, because making the dice bags was exciting, And obviously, as time goes on, it gets less exciting. But I still, up until the point where my hands started just making it horrible, it was still something that I was really passionate about. But I couldn't really see anywhere for it to progress. So I felt like they'd got to a quality level, but there's still only, there's only so fast I can make them. It's not like I can get better and make them twice as fast, because that's how long they take, And it's still doing day in, day out, so I can survive off it, but it doesn't. The only other way that you could think to increase it would be to outsource, and that wasn't going to happen. And that sort of just takes away one of the big
selling points.
Yeah,
what you're actually producing in the first place, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, something that is handmade with top quality and all of this. So that was something that sort of bothered me, because I thought, how long can I do this same thing for? But now I've just got so many different ideas, and there's obviously stuff happening that I wouldn't have even thought about a couple of months ago. So with the female miniatures, there's obviously more companies. It's starting to slow down because there's now less and less. I've sort of scooped so many in, but I still get the odd email from someone saying, "Oh, my range has got some female models in." Oh, great! So that's the list. So I've got more of those to add. I've started increasing the ranges.
Jump in there. So, is it now turning on to the fact that manufacturers are now approaching you to stock their products?
Yeah, that was something that I hadn't expected at the start, because I started off having to email each person with my whole mission, sort of thing. Because sometimes
this is my manifesto.
Yeah, sometimes companies have got a few £100 order limit, minimum order. But if I just want one figure or two figures off them, I'm not going to meet that order. So I've immediately gone, "Hello, you've probably not heard of me before, but I want a massive favour." But luckily, so many of them just said, "Yeah, sure, that's cool." And then it got to a point where I'd go, "Hello, so I've been doing this project." And they go, "Oh, yeah, we know who you are. How many do you want?" "Oh, great." "Yeah, sure." I've had people come up, I've had manufacturers come up at shows kind of with the models in their hands saying, "Oh, you don't have to, but if you'd like to put these in the range," "Oh, of course I would." So that sort of keenness is great. And, sculptors and artists coming up and paint loads of painters and just lots of people that want to get involved, which is ace. And yeah, I thought that at the start, no one's really going to work with me, outside of Dice Bag World, no one knows who I am, but it quite quickly seemed to reach a lot of places, so that's ace.
It's been a bit of a quiet revolution, isn't it?
With, currently with Frostgrave, so I've gathered all these female types together, but now that's still doing really well. I thought, well, if I'm ordering from a company, why not get some of the male figures in if they're going to fit for a purpose for this? Because, again, I don't want to be all sorts of stuff, but say Frostgrave is the theme, or Saga is the theme. If I get things that work with that, then that's good. So, Otherworld, I'm starting to get the monsters. Hopefully, after Crisis, I'll then add the male adventurers, because they're also really nice models. CP models I've just added. I added them on the website yesterday. Their male adventurers are lovely. And just sort of growing stuff naturally, rather than just getting everything in at once. So now the purpose of it's Frostgrave. Dragonbaits I've just reordered today, and I've ordered some of their figures are just amazing. Again, but if I'm ordering them in, there's people asking, "Why don't you have this guy or this guy?" So, okay, so I'll add some of those in with the Frostgrave idea. Then on the next order, I'll add a few more in, and starting to add other people's, the rule sets and the male figures, and maybe some of the monsters. So they're sort of expanding out, seeing what does well. Because sometimes I buy a new range and I've got no idea if anyone's going to want it or not. So I order in a couple of some things maybe, and then trends change, and suddenly there's one figure that everyone wants, and sort of balancing that out. So, yeah, with stocking other people's things, just slowly expand out some of them. Something's going to come along. So, Saga was the main thing previously. It's still big for me, but Frostgrave's sort of a lot bigger. That one's going to go on for a while, I hope, because I've finally managed to start getting some games in. So, what happens is by the time I've actually got some things painted, gamers sometimes move on quite fast, do they? And then the new thing's out. I've got all my stuff and no one wants to play it with me. So because they've got things due out for next summer, hopefully this thing is going to be after that, and just keep it fresh. And the wave of people for it seems to be still really keen. But I'm kind of aware of at some point that will quieten down a bit, and then, maybe looking out for the next thing that could be,
the next
thing that grows, yeah. But it's not just the next big game. It's got to be the next big game that I'm interested in, because I don't want to just sell things, and everything so far in the shop are things that I really like. So it's a bit cruel, really, because I stock all the things, my dream shop, basically, I stock, but I'm generally not allowed any of it. So I work in the best toy shop ever, but I can't have it. But I've treated myself recently, because I've obviously bought some of the Frostgrave bits, and now I go, right, I wanted some terrain. Okay, what shall I take from Diceback Lady? And it's all sort of there. So it's quite nice that I've been able to get some things lately for myself, rather than just working all the time.
Because you got one of the cigar mats miniatures.
Yeah, that was
cigar box miniatures. Oh, sorry, cigar box mats.
Battle, I think it is. Yeah.
Whatever
I think it was you that I first saw them off a while ago on Twitter, and
probably.
Yeah, probably. You share everything on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ones. They're sold direct through those, or just through North Star, because obviously the import's a bit crazy on them. A lot of the time I get something in for me, and then I end up selling it. So I thought, well, I can't sell these, so I'll treat myself. So I bought myself a lovely mat, and now I'm starting to do just little projects. Because I found, obviously, the bigger my shop's got, the less personal life I've got, and the less gaming life. So I'm trying to get some of that back at the moment. And so games like Frostgrave, it's easy to do, I don't have to sit and read tons and tons of rules or paint whole armies of stuff. As much as I obviously need to make money, I still want to keep selling things that I'm passionate about. Yeah. So yeah, looking for the next thing that will sort of tie in. And obviously for the miniatures, I could go on for the rest of my life making miniatures, because there's just so many. I've got a big stack of books for various women in history, and there's so many of them that are just totally unheard of. There's obviously all the famous ones, but there's just so many, and I kind of want to do them some justice, make people aware of who these characters are, and then as long as it's a cool model, they'll buy it anyway. You don't need to really appreciate what the character's done if the model's cool, then and it's just raising awareness for that sort of thing. So it just feels like I'm doing something really positive rather than just selling stuff, which would obviously tire quite quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you're starting to hit the issue that so many people have who make their hobby their business, is that all of a sudden you find that the business is everything and you don't get to play games anymore.
Yeah. Which is even harder, because there's literally just a wall between me and loads of people playing games. Because I'm based in Firestone Games, so that's a shop, but it's also the South Wales Gaming Centre. So it's a huge gaming centre, and I've got, a lot of the time I've got my armies here, I've got no excuse, and I can hear everyone having fun, because they're open late as well, and I'm sat here fiddling around my website or something. So my goal at the moment is to try and get a game a week. So I'm trying to get some Frostgrave in, and I'm still trying to get a game with Mike of Otherworld Fantasy Skirmish, but I think he's a bit too scared to play me.
Why is that, Mike?
I knew this day would come. Look, he's only beaten me a couple of times in a few games.
A couple of times in a few games.
It's quite a few games.
I was going to say, Annie, is Mike accurate, or is he telling a couple of little porgies here?
Well, I do have...
Has Mike ever beaten you in a game?
No.
No. Not even in Saga.
No. Didn't you write some of Saga?
Shut up. Do you know the worst thing about Saga game? Because I was so convinced I'm going to beat it this time. I had my Welsh army, which is my favourite Welsh army, and she was sat opposite me with all of the battle boards going, I don't know which one to play. Oh, I'll try the Russ. Oh, great. And she hadn't even read the battle board. Oh, what does this do? Oh, this slows you down. I'll play that. Bing. Yeah. Stupid game. But I do have a theory of why she beats me all the time.
What's that?
I think once she's worked out how I play.
Yeah, I still don't know how you play Mike.
Yeah, and I keep trying to change it. But I think I think you're very good at reading people and knowing what they're going to do before they do it. And you're also very good at picking up rules.
Or hustling.
Yeah, you hustle like anything.
Maybe I'm getting better at picking up rules because I don't have so much time. So even though I don't consider myself particularly good, I felt like I was getting quite good at Warhammer just because I played so much of it. But
you're one
now,
of the players I've ever met.
But now I kind of have a little bit to read, and then I've got to get the game, and then I might not play the game for months. I haven't played Saga for quite a while. So then I come around to playing something, I've got to figure out again, what do I actually do? But yeah, maybe because I've got to cram it all in quite quickly. Got to figure out how to beat Mike as quickly as I can. And then never play that game again.
Yeah, because I take it away crying.
We still haven't played Freebooters again. I was getting quite excited by that.
Yeah, that game I almost won. Until he shot me in the head.
Well, we haven't played Frostgrave, so we can play that, and we haven't played Otherworld, which I definitely want to play. Because it's a game it's going against my rules that I'm selling it, and I haven't played it yet, so I need to play it. All I've got so far is that I've read it, and it looks really good. And I've heard that it's very good.
Yeah, Otherworld's a very good game.
Yeah, it is good.
And that's the next sort of thing that I've gone into, again, because that looks like it's going to be something I'm going to enjoy. The book's beautiful, the models are beautiful, and I already stock some of it, and the stuff that I've accumulated for Frostgrave and some of the new supplies I've got for Frostgrave, they just cross over, naturally. So that's another thing to convert people into.
Yeah, that's the thing that I like about sort of Frostgrave and Otherworld is you can use the same figures.
Yeah.
You just need more monsters in Frostgrave. Sorry, in Otherworld.
Otherworld, yeah. But yeah, since coming out of that sort of GW bubble and just seeing all these games that you only need a few figures for, and now I can't imagine buying a whole new army of something because of the little time that I have. It's not realistic. So I'm going to end up with it undercoated for 10 years,
yeah,
at least. But if it's 10 models, I feel like I can do that.
I have to get you to have a look at Paul Pally as well.
Yeah, I was looking at that. So that's another one I've now expanded, but that's another of my website tasks for this week. So stock statuesque, do some figures for that. I've just started stocking all of their pulp range as well as some of their fantasy range because their resistance fighters are beautiful and they were selling really well. And there's people being glad to see companies at shows that they don't normally see. So not everybody goes to shows. So if I can bring in those that don't, then it's the people that don't like buying online or like to look at the models in person. It's helping out as well. So I thought I'm going to give the pulp models a go. So Crisis will be the first show I'll have those at.
Oh,
and yes,
cool.
That's in Belgium. And those guys normally would have to buy that offline, so that'll be a nice treat.
Okay, so going back to the beginning, because we said we'd come back to it at some point. Bad Squiddo and Baggy. Explain, please. What is this all about?
Yeah, it's very childish,
Not sure. It was a dreadful accident. There was, just before Salute last year, I realised that I was going to a show and I didn't even have a website or a proper logo. So I don't even know how the hell Baggy sort of appeared, but he did, unfortunately. So I ended up with this logo, a mascot chap called Baggy the Bag, who's a dice bag holding a little smiley dice. And he's just sort of the company mascot. But quite quickly, he's grown into his own person quite a bit. So he now exists. He existed quite quickly, actually, as in crochet form, and he travels around all the shows with me. But one of the first things I started doing, actually, before I sold Saga, was illustrating Baggy and his adventures. So that was a little side merchandise type thing I started doing. Which is not massive, but it makes me really, really happy when people buy the stuff because I think people are buying the adventures of my animated dice bag that gets into all sorts of shenanigans. So the Squiddos are these squid-like monsters that follow him around, and they generally give him a lot of grief, but they're not bad at all. They're just really friendly. but he doesn't like personal contact with people at all, and he's quite reserved, and they chasing him around, and he just gets quite angry. So there's all sorts of little comics and things float around the internet of him, and I've put those onto some badges and stuff. But it got to a point at the start of the year where I was still, I always probably will be known as the Dice Bag Lady, but trying to get across to people that it's not just dice bags.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know the Dice Bag Lady did this, or this. So I need a name that's not a new name that will just go alongside, because I've got the Dice Bag Lady so established. I didn't want to lose it. So I thought I need a new company that's not something totally different. So I had quite a long time where I didn't know what to call it. And people were saying things like, Shield Maiden Minis or something like that. But that's creating its own, another, too specific. Yeah. So, 5-10 years down the line, if I decide I want to release a game or, I want to do something totally different, I decide that I really like tanks and I'm going to produce just tanks or something like that, then I run into the same problem. So I needed something that was quite broad and but still link back to the Dice Bag Lady and not sort of leave that behind.
Right, okay.
So after all sorts of horrible and hilarious name suggestions, which Mike was no good at helping me out, I ran some ideas.
I had some fantastic ideas.
I could imagine.
I thought Arse Biscuit Games was a fantastic name.
My brain is terrible at coming up with names, and it just sort of disappears into a dark hole of filth, and none of it was going to work. And I think whatever it is, it's got to have a nice picture to go with it, And it's I don't want to lose Baggy, but I can't have Baggy Games. That's a bit weird. So yeah, Bad Squiddo was sort of just based on the Squiddo, but I wanted to make sure Baggy was still there. So the logo is he's bad, but he's smiling. So there's a smiling Squiddo, and there's little Baggy. So it means that I can carry the whole thing through it. It's not something else, and it's still bright and fun. So I like at shows just being the bright stall with maybe the only stall that doesn't have camo on it somewhere. Just just bright and fun, and it's games. It's games. It's fun. And that's about it. And I still keep the Dice Bag Lady, but the two logos are very similar in style and look, so that that they're the same thing. And it's still at that awkward stage sometimes where if I get one name, I'm not quite sure which one to use, because I want to grow Bad Squiddo Games, but a lot of the time they won't know who that is. If it's a show, they might go, "Oh, the Dice Bag Lady's not here." So a lot of the time it's still just using both, but it seems to be working. And it's just having games at the end, even instead of miniatures, means that I am open to doing all sorts, because I'm massively infused, obviously, by everything. I find the whole thing really exciting. There's just so many different avenues I can go down, and I have no idea what they're going to be now, which is great. So it's the more open that I can keep it without sort of burrowing into a corner is great. But the female miniatures, I'd like to go on forever. It's something that I can't imagine not doing now.
Yeah.
And the dice bags is obviously slowing down just because of my wrists have been terrible, which sort of goes through waves of bothering me. Yeah. So do you still? I mean, actually, as far as that's concerned, do you still do them, or is it more a case of because of the problems it gives you wrists, you kind of saying, well, actually, I need to put that to one side now? It's currently aside. I think I took about 8 months off. And I had people that were still waiting for bags, and they'd been patiently waiting, but it felt like a big weight, a big sort of crushing, because a lot of the ones that I had to do were difficult, and I thought if I'm going to get back into making these bags, I want to do a few easier things, a bag with a skull on it, perhaps, but I don't want to do any of that without. Because if you're someone that's waiting, imagine like someone waiting for a Kickstarter. Go, oh, she's doing something. Oh, it's not my thing, So I can't do anything else before I've sort of sorted these people out, because they've been waiting really, really patiently. But then when I went back to doing it, I thought, if there's 8 months off, it'll be fine now. And the pain is just insane, and almost straight away. I thought, what I'm going to have to do, instead of making them wait just that uncertainty, I just said, I'm sorry, but I cancelled all of the waiting custom orders. And I'm hoping, if it's not on my radar, it's quite sad, because it got to such a good point, and then it all sort of crashed with the wrists. But it's not worth me totally screwing them up, So it's got to a point now where they're mostly okay, but they're in a state of sort of constant throbbing. And I get to shows, and I'm carrying all the boxes, I'm carrying my grid walls, and doing all that, and that makes them hurt, but it doesn't make them hurt in the same way that just doing that repetitive, the sewing and the crochet, because it's the sewing as well that hurts it. But I don't want to wreck, it's that I really want to do it, but it's not worth it.
Yeah,
so,
don't do it. Because I did my tendons about 5-6 years ago, and there's not a day that they don't hurt. It becomes like turf ache. So it's never gonna get better. So what you got to do is just make sure you don't do anything to aggravate it.
That's it. So I took the pressure off, and luckily everyone that I spoke to, I sent them all their own sort of message and didn't just go bye. I said, look, this is the score. I'm really sorry. Here's another. I linked them to another dice bag company that I really like, and said, like, these guys might be able to help you out. And maybe they're going to get better, but it's just. People are asking me, I get emails going, are they better yet? Are they better yet? I really want them to be, So what I'm going to do is, I'm almost pause it. So the bags that I've got now are shrinking and shrinking at each show. And I'm hoping that even if I do one a month, that of something that really inspires me, if there's something like, I really want to make that into a bag, and that will make me, maybe just do the pain of one, and that'll be okay. But enough that it's not sort of pushing away, and then who knows, in 5 months, in a year, they might be better. But to take the pressure off them having to be better, and I'm really glad that the shop and everything else is doing really well. But I'm not in that frustrating sort of hole that I was. But I am currently really missing doing it and sort of doing those new designs. So that's I don't want to end it on a negative. That's the sort of bad thing.
I was going to say, let's end it on a positive then, about the community that you built up. Because you are a bit of a social media person.
Definitely. So the thing is, like, the bags built the name up, and I think a lot of people got to know me through the bags and sort of become that trusted name, if that helps. Mm-hmm. And in a weird way, even though a lot of the time it doesn't feel like that, the hands stopping working was a really good thing. Because I think at some point I would have ended up crashing from just doing that much of the same thing, on and on and on. And it's opened up so much more, and just to be so excited about all the different things that's happening is really positive. And if I can get to the point where I'm doing this and the bags again, that would be perfect, But I reckon I probably am the company that's the most active on social media and forums, because I do sort of appear everywhere, and I do see the same names of people that do the same as me. Other customers perhaps I'll recognise their name on a forum, and then I'll see them on a group or something. But I think it's important, and I just really like it. So. I'm selling Frostgrave, but I'm playing Frostgrave and I'm enjoying it. So I'm not just an outsider saying, hi, buy my stuff. I'm sort of, involved there and involved with Saga and those sort of people. And like to help people out. So if I get hits on my site from a forum of someone that's saying, someone said, where can I get this sort of model from? And someone said, Dice Bag Lady might do it. I'll then join the forum and help them out and little bits like that. Because I just like it. I like chatting to people, and it seems to be working as well. I can see people at shows and getting to see people. There's some people, the company started in 2008, effectively, and there's people that have been posting and liking on the Facebook page since then. And sometimes they're people from overseas, and then they come over to a salute, and I get to meet them, and that's just really great. Mm-hmm. So it's just been... It's great seeing the people that were Dice Bag customers, or even just, people who supported the page, now still sticking with me and still being into what I'm doing. There's obviously going to be people that go, this isn't Dice Bags, I'm not interested anymore. But I think a majority of people are still sort of enjoying what I do and, you know, maybe liking me and wanting to help me out, that sort of thing. So that's great.
Okay, so let's take a step back a bit from Bad Squiddo Games and go back to what we were talking about a bit earlier, which was the elephant in the room, in the fact that you happen to be a female in what is primarily, or what appears to be primarily, a male-dominated hobby. And you were saying, you know, obviously that seemed to cause a few issues to begin with. You obviously either got around that, or, as I say, found a much more accepting group. How have you found it over the years? And of course, especially with the case of us, you know, moving, I suppose, in some ways, moving from fantasy with, you know, Warhammer into historical, and I suppose, as I say, then moving back into fantasy with Frostgrave and various other bits and pieces. How do you find your gaming these days compared to what it was when you were just playing on the fantasy battle circuit?
It's a weird one, and sometimes I'm a bit hesitant to sort of say it, because quite a few different podcasts I've listened to, when they have interviewed a woman, then they say, what's your experiences? And it's hard to not sort of talk, you know, speak for all women, because I can only have my experience, and my experience might be different to other people's. So it's just a sort of general disclaimer that this is just, you know, how I've experienced it. But I keep a lot of lookout for other people, and if there's anyone from any sort of subsection or minority, just to make sure that they're involved, because it's quite easy for, you know, say louder people or certain type of people to dominate and make it not so welcoming. So the first tournament I went to was absolutely fine, and, you know, I've obviously played at tons and tons of tournaments, and I didn't really want to be negative about it, because I have had bad experiences, but on the whole, it's been ace. And I've made tons of friends. Pretty much my whole social group now is Wargamers, which has been for quite a while. I think sometimes it is a bit, and I've found myself doing it sometimes, so that means that people aren't all bad, that a girl walks in the room and you're so just not used to it that people do look. But most people look, go, oh, and then carry on with what they're doing. So there's the stereotype, and then there's the normal people. And I think the majority of gamers are the normal people. But from the negative experiences I've had, I found a lot of it is on the internet, and it's people that aren't face to face with you. And through what we were saying earlier about being on social media and being on all the groups, I'm probably on more Facebook, wargaming groups than anyone else, just because I sort of keep my oar into everywhere. So there's groups that I'm in, don't tell anyone. There's groups that I'm in where I don't play the game, or I might not have an intention of playing the game, but I just sort of skulk around, and some of them I don't even post in. But some people online, you know, someone will post, hey look, I've painted this model that happens to be a girl, and it'll descend into abuse. And that's the online community, and I think that's terrible. If this is someone's first step, you know, into the hobby, and they're seeing that could put someone off quite quickly. Whereas if they walked into a gaming centre, such as Firestorm, because that's the one I've had experience with, you might perhaps end up with one strange person, but everyone is fine. So you will be welcomed, you will be treated like anyone else, and you'll get a game. And if anyone has a problem, you know, or they're going to be a expletive about it, then there are plenty of people to back you up, you know, but not in a patronising sort of way. It's just people, you know, gamers looking out for other gamers. So, as I said, the majority of people are fine, but it doesn't translate that well online. So I seem to constantly, and maybe some people listening will see that I do seem to crop up arguing on Facebook quite a lot in some of the groups, because I do tell people off sometimes. But one of the things I set up, 2010 I think, it was very quiet until the start of the year where I really started sort of hammering it, is I run an all-female Wargamers group on Facebook.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is hard, because it's hard to promote, and I may be doing a terrible thing by mentioning it on here. So I want to get more people in it, but then obviously the more that I talk about it, then the more people that try and sneak into it. So I have to vet everyone quite a bit. But the basic idea is just that it's a
What,
place...
seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously? People masquerade as women to try and get on this forum?
Well, they do, and I think they imagine that they'll get into this fabled place, because a lot of these groups will say, oh, imagine a woman that plays war games, that'd be the best thing ever. And then they find out that there's a whole blooming group of them. But they want to get into there, don't they? Because everyone will be having pillow fights and painting Space Marines in their pants and all this sort of stuff. So I think, well, okay, if they get in there, all they'll see is that it's just like any other group, because we just chat about the things we've painted or do a battle report, or someone will say, where can I find this mini? But it's just a place that, part of it was my little project, just to see how many I could gather into one place. But it's... yeah, a lot of people enjoyed it because they've said, oh, this is actually somewhere that isn't, dominated by internet loudmouths. And if you've got a question, sometimes if you're a female and you've got a rules question, in the same way that if one of you guys had a rules question, you'd post it up, someone would answer. But especially on Facebook, because you have your little avatars, which are mostly, people's own faces. So if you post, I have a rules question, you might get someone say, oh, what are you doing in the hobby? Oh. So it's just little bits and go, this is a daft question, but what do people mean when they say blah or stuff like that? And it's just a nice little space where it doesn't need to be moderated because there's so few of us. We sort of keep an eye on it. And occasionally someone will say, all women play wood elves or something like that. But actually we've got access to it must be the largest sort of gathering in one place. It's not huge, we've got about 120 members. But that's still a lot. You think the average gamer, when they say, oh yeah, there was a woman once at our gaming club and my wife plays, so they might know 2. And then people use that anecdotal knowledge to say, well, all female gamers, based on the 2 that you know. So it's quite good that we occasionally have arguments in there, or we disagree on things, or we ask questions, and there's all sorts of different viewpoints, and it's pretty obvious, but it does hone that there isn't a female gamer. It's exactly the same.
Like I was about to say, it just sounds like you're gamers.
Yeah, just like normal people. So, because again, you find sometimes people try and be helpful, but they're not. They'll say, oh, all women are great painters. And things like, they'll smash you more than anyone else, which, is true in mine and Hobbs' case, but... so they're also not helpful stereotypes, because they're not true again. So some can paint, some can't, some are probably horrible to play against, some of them are lovely to play against.
Some are probably awful.
Like normal people, but it does seem to be a lot of people have hammered in their head that there's this one type of female gamer, because they might have met one. So it's quite good to sort of just research. But yeah, if you are of the female persuasion and are listening to this, then give me a shout on any of the social medias, which I'm sure you'll put in the show notes. And I can give you the secret code and everything.
Personally, I've been a member there for 2.5 years.
Yeah. I did see you there, but I thought, I'll just let him in. His pigtails are lovely. Yeah, it's positive, because it's good, because obviously in the environment I am, it just seems to be mostly men that I do interact and work with, so it's quite nice to find other like-minded people.
It's one thing I have noticed in Firestorm is there is an awful lot more females who go in there than any other club I've been to.
Yep. It's definitely growing as well.
Yeah, and they're welcomed, and they just, they're just gamers.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
like if you replace the word female with short, tall, fat, thin, yeah, people are all sorts, Yeah. So there wouldn't be any reason why we'd be different. But yeah, it's the obvious one. But the more places there are like Firestorm where it's just totally fine, then the better, and that'll increase it. Because there's no need for...
Here's a topic for conversation then. Do you think that the rise in female players is down to the games that are now being played, because I've noticed the games are moving away from sort of strictly historical games. So the games I see the 20-30-year-olds playing on Firestorm are mostly fantasy based, mostly skirmish based. They're sort of that lighter games. So they're not the heavy, Napoleonic or World War II games.
Are you saying that women can't cope with heavy games?
No, I was saying that is it a case that younger people generally prefer a non-historical game?
I'm not sure. I know quite a few younger people that play historicals. One of the things I did in the...
Bold Action doesn't count, by the way.
No, in the female group...
You just had to go there, didn't you? You really just had to go there.
I did put a poll up of what games do you play, just to see what the demographic... Just of this, again, my anecdotal evidence is still, 120 people compared to hundreds of thousands is still not a massive amount, but... The amount of and types of games is massively varied, but I think for young people in general that you don't have to make such a big commitment to get into a game will help. But the thing, because I thought about it a lot, because different things such as online games have more of almost a 50-50, isn't it, for video games?
Yeah.
But why hasn't it happened here? But something that's quite obvious that I think people miss a lot is that if you're a young male, something like Warhammer's a big gateway, and that's something that you get into when you're a kid, and that's the whole indoctrination, and that's advertised at boys, and it's fine for boys to do, and it's pushed at boys. So when you get older, maybe you're in your 20s, and you go, "Oh, I remember that thing I used to do," or you start university and you join a club. It's already cemented there. So a lot of women gamers might be coming from scratch. So if you haven't had that experience before of assembling and painting a whole army, coming to it as an adult and having to assemble and paint all this stuff is a lot different to going, "Hey, do you want to play Frostgrave? You want to paint up 10 figures, and then that's it, and here are the rules." I think that's a huge thing, and just for people in general. So I think it's really good for gamers, both sexes at the moment, all sexes, that you don't have to make such a big commitment. Because you think about Warhammer, you have to spend so much money to get, at the start, to get that game. Not so much with Age of Sigmar now, but that big commitment.
Yeah, because we always sort of hear about the hobby greying, and yeah, from our perspective, the hobby is greying because we're all, me, Neil, and our are all late 40s males who've been playing since we were in school. But I just noticed that there's especially in Firestorm, and again, I'm just taking it from that one club, there is an awful lot of younger people out there playing, but they're not playing the games that we're playing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might just be very simple, the case of they don't want to play with people who are old enough to be their parents. They want to play people of their own age.
Yeah.
The problem I have is play historical, and I can't find anyone to play it with. But
you keep beating me, so I'm not playing against you.
I keep crushing all my opponents. Because I'm actually more interested in historical gaming, but find it hard to get a game or get opponents for it.
I'll tell you what, we'll play a big Napoleonic game with a couple of the regulars down Firestorm, and that'll put you off if...
I am allergic to Napoleonics. I did think about it. I thought about doing 3 mil Napoleonics just to see if
it works. It's really good.
Could just paint some rice. That would work.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they are.
Yeah, I think something else that's of a big interest to me, and might be something later on, is that I do find it important to get younger. And obviously, because I've got the female perspective, I want to get more women into the gaming. But just younger people in general, I think that's really important. I think there are some attitudes that are kind of locking out, but you need to just ignore those people. People at demo games that sort of ignore you or bits like that. And to get them young and get that sort of first seed that even if they don't play it for a while, there's something to come back to. I think that's important. And there's so many games, and there's so many new and young companies, I think, now, as before it was quite one direction. There's now all sorts of little bits and all sorts of genres, and I think games are getting smaller and easier to get into. That seems to be huge at the moment, isn't it? That pick up and play quite quickly.
Yeah, it's a single company producing the rules, the figures, and everything. It's the brand loyalty, isn't it?
Yeah, I say that's for me as well. That game that I can play one game of and know it, and then just learn the tactics. because I spent so long just sat reading. Again, if I'd picked up Warhammer now, I thought, wow, that's so much time that I'd spent originally just learning and reading all the rules and trying to, hone all that in. And I wouldn't have time now to start a game like that.
Annie, it's been great to have you on. Not only just to find out what you're doing as far as Bad Squiddo is concerned and everything, but also to kind of have a step back and look at things from perhaps a perspective that we don't get to do very often, and maybe we should do a bit more, to be honest. Yeah, so it's been great to chat. It's been really interesting as well to find out not only that here we have somebody who makes a decision to say, right, I'm going to do something different, and maybe I'm going to buck the trend, and to have all these people kind of go, no, that's not going to work. And to be in a situation, here we are, 12, 18 months further down the line, to actually say, it is working. That is really good to hear. So thank you for coming on the show and sharing that. It's been really good to chat.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I'm tempted to come down to Cardiff and say, okay, I'll give you a game or something.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Yes. However, I suspect
you'd win. Well, you would.
There's no way there, because if you win, then I'm obviously rubbish, and if you lose, then I'm obviously amazing, and that's why Hobbs keeps losing to me. So his honour's protected either way, I think.
It's because I'm a gentleman. I always like to let the lady win. No,
I'll let you believe that. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Want to wish you all the best as you carry on with what you're doing.
It's been a crazy year. I had no idea this time last year that this would be happening, or even last month that this would be. Every week there seems to be something else happening, which is ace. So this time next year, who knows what's going on.
It's really good to hear, and it's good to hear that somebody who is so enthusiastic about the hobby, is actually doing something different, making it work, and actually having fun doing it, as opposed to kind of getting buried under, all of a sudden my hobby has just taken over my life as business, and has ceased to be fun, which sometimes you kind of think, some people seem to be at that point where they've lost sight of why they're in this in the first place. Yeah,
definitely. I can see how it happens as well, so I'm just trying to keep from that point where I start resenting it, by making sure I get games in and step back a bit occasionally.
No, good stuff. So thanks ever so much for coming on the show. Just in case people don't know where to find you, how can they find you on the internet and what have you?
They can project a bat signal into the air. They can go on to www.thedice.
I was going to say, surely it's a Baggy signal.
Yeah.
No, because Baggy may or may not be Batman as well, so I might have given something away there.
I'm Batman.
I am on the website, which is www.thedicebaglady.com.net.co.uk. It's also badsquiddogames.com. It all gets you to the same place. I've got all bases covered. I'm sure that'll be in the notes as well. Is on Twitter, I'm massively active, which is @thedicebaglady. Facebook, it's facebook.com/thedicebaglady. And anywhere else on any forum or any sort of hole in the internet or place you might find, I'm also the Dice Bag Lady, or just Annie, depending on where we are. But yeah, I'm everywhere. I see everything.
That's brilliant. So, as I say, it's been great to chat. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Annie. Lots of interesting things going on. Really interesting to kind of get, as I say, it's one of these things of every time you say it, you want to say it without sounding patronising. But to get what is a bit of a female perspective on what is a male-dominated hobby.
And also, but the perspective of somebody who's in their 20s and plays games.
What you mean, like what, as opposed to like old gits like us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it is important. I've got to say, when I was talking about, people not being interested in the sort of games we're interested in, and I think it's right. I think people in the sort of 20s and 30s probably aren't that interested in Napoleonics and really heavy, detailed World War II games. They want, they don't see it as a war game. They just see it as a tabletop game. I think that's the big difference. They want something that's fun. They can do in a couple of hours with a few beers, have a laugh, make some noise. They don't want to be sat around a table with a bunch of old duffers pushing a squadron of old guard 6 inches towards the enemy before they run away, like we've all done. When you spend a whole weekend and you just got one unit and they hardly ever move. So.
Okay, folks, that's Mike Hobbs, care of Meeples and Miniatures.
Yeah.
Okay. But I kind of hear what you're saying. I think especially when you kind of look at the going, I suppose it's one reason why games like Frostgrave and stuff really take off. I mean, you look at things like what Mantic done in Dungeon Saga and other games like that. Well, all these things like Otherworld and what have you. Yeah, these swift pickup games where you don't need a huge amount of figures.
Yeah,
and what have you. So, but people don't know what they're missing.
Yes, we shall tell them all about it. We shall tell them why they're wrong.
Yeah, that doesn't quite work, does it?
No.
Yeah, let's step away from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can show them why they're wrong. We can invite them to play a game. You see, kind of go, okay, have a go of this, see what you think, and then slap them when they don't like it.
Bad person.
Indeed.
So, moving right on, Hereward, the gaming show is coming up soon.
1st of November.
Yeah. And we're going to be there.
We are.
What we're going to do? We're going to record some stuff.
We still haven't really decided, but I suppose we could. I suppose we could do a bit of a Meeples live.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening to this who's going to go to Hereward, if you see us, come and say hello, and we'll do an interview with you. And you can tell us all about who you are and why you listen to the show and how great we are.
Because Mike needs his ego stroking just that little bit more. Yeah.
And maybe you can buy us a beer.
Oh, well, for that. Although, having said that, and hang on a second, I think I'm driving. That's not good. Just because you're staying in a hotel. Okay, you can buy Mike a beer. I'll have a lemonade.
Yeah.
There we go. Excellent. Yeah. So if you go to Hereward, we'll be there. We'll be there. We'll have the recording equipment. Come along, say hi, and we'll get you on the show. That'd be good.
Yeah. Actually, have we mentioned Mervyn and what he did at Derby?
No, we haven't. I tweeted about it. Oh, yeah. Mervyn Douglas.
What a gentleman. What a nice man he is.
What a nice man. Yeah. I feel like the Queen. Apparently now, it's official. I have 2 birthdays. For some reason. Now I still haven't actually found out. But I got we were at the Derby show, and this was on the Sunday, and all of a sudden I got a text from Mike saying, "Get yourself over here. We've got something for you." So I wander over to see Mike, and there's Mervyn, and he has cake with a candle in it. And it's like, my wife Sue always hears me listening to you, and we hear it's your birthday, so she's made you a cake. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sue. It was brilliant.
Lovely cake.
It was lovely cake. It was lovely. Yeah, and thank you so much. It was such a nice thought, Mervyn. There's only one slight issue. It wasn't my birthday. Not that I particularly care.
Oh.
If anybody wants to meet me at a show and give me cake, who am I to refuse? It was a fantastic thought. Mervyn, thank you ever so much. Really, really appreciated it. It was really nice, and so we got to eat and share cake. It was great.
It was very good, fine cake. Good lemon drizzle cake.
Lemon drizzle cake, yeah, it was lovely. So Mervyn, and thank you so much, and Sue, if you're listening, thank you so much. It was great, lovely thought, lovely cake. Thank you so much for the thought. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And Mervyn, as a present, we've decided to give you a free 1-year subscription to the podcast.
Indeed.
You're welcome, sir.
And on that note, we really must finish because we've been
rabbiting on for
far too long. If you got to the end of this show, congratulations and thank you for staying with us. We hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, take care. We'll speak really soon. Until then, bye and happy gaming.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you want to know more about Meeples and Miniatures, there are several things you can do. First of all, you can visit the website at www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. If you want to contact the show at all, you can email me at neil@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. You can follow the show on Twitter. Simply look for M&M Podcast or click the follow us on Twitter button from the website. We also have a group on Facebook. That's the Meeples and Miniatures Podcast Fan Club. Again, follow the link from the website. And finally, if you want to help us to support the show, you can always donate to the podcast by clicking the PayPal button on the donate page, again found on the website. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope you've really enjoyed the show. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.